China, China, China. Here we are again. We are back in the news with China, and a movie star gets in trouble for saying a thing about a country and then speaks in Chinese. We're going to go over what is going on here with the new Fast and the Furious and why it makes a difference to us here in America and why it makes a difference to us as Christians. Thanks for choosing Church Public. Let's get started. All right, welcome back to Church Public again. Thank you so much for joining in. If you haven't already, go to churchpublic.com where you can get previous episodes. You can look at some of the news stories that I cannot fit into episodes. You can get links to iTunes and Amazon and Apple and Google and all the places that you can get your podcast. Sign up, subscribe, give a review. 5 stars would be great. You can also watch this on video. If you are listening on audio, thank you. If you'd like to see it on video, especially in this episode where we're going to look at some video clips, you may want to head over to YouTube and search Church Public, one word, and you can come up with this video and many more like it. Again, thank you so much for supporting Church Public. Your contribution really does make a difference. So today we are talking about China, China, China. And I mean, I say that as a joke, but at the same time, we had a previous administration who, let's just say, used to say China a lot, and I liked it so much that I thought we should hear some of that again. Let's take a listen.
Let's say China. China.
China.
China. China. China.
China.
China. China. China.
China.
You go over to China. 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 You take China.
Okay, I think you get the idea, but at the very least, we talked about China a lot before, and we're still talking about China now. This time, I think it's a weird and rather funny story because we are talking about China, but we're talking about movie stars. And whether you knew or not, the movies, and Hollywood especially, are very connected to China. You may not have known that. As I talked with my family about it, they didn't know that. Again, not that my family is unique or more educated than anybody else, but most people kind of don't think about that. China accounts for a lot of the millions and billions of dollars that go back into Hollywood. And so Hollywood pays big attention to what's going on in China and what they say about China. And this is specifically relevant to the latest news story with an actor called Cena, who previously was a wrestling superstar. And I mean, he's funny. He's a funny guy. I've seen him in a couple movies. I can admit that I have not really watched the Fast and the Furious movies. I don't know how many he's been in. I don't really care. I just haven't really gotten on into the whole Fast and Furious franchise. It's just not my jam. You can judge me for that. I don't really care. So in this Fast and the Furious, I guess they're up to number 9. I mean, apparently this franchise is doing well, let's just say, if they're up to number 9. And apparently there may have even been some spin-offs. Again, I don't know. I don't really care. All that to say, there have been a lot of Fast and Furious movies, and a lot of them made a lot of money in China. So much so, in fact, that poor John Cena, and I say poor, but that's really facetious because he made his bed in this instance and unfortunately didn't want to live up to the truth that he said. So in interviews, apparently what he said was that something to the effect, and I believe it was in Chinese, but again, I'm kind of piecing some things together. So what he said was that Taiwan is going to be the first country that's going to get this F9, Fast and the Furious number 9, into their borders. Now, to a normal person, a person in America perhaps, you would say, great, again, who cares, right? But to the acute listening ear of the Chinese Communist Party and the People's Republic of China, they said, oh, no, we don't believe Taiwan is a country. Therefore, you, John Cena, need to apologize. And not only apologize, this is the weird part. I think this is a weird part. He was asked to apologize in Mandarin. Sure. I mean, right. I guess if you can speak that, why wouldn't you speak that? So he was asked to speak. And if I get some of the words and translations wrong, I apologize. Again, I don't know certain things about that. But all to say, he was asked to apologize specifically in this Chinese language to apologize that Taiwan was a country. Again, let's just back up. If you don't know, and if you haven't been paying attention to international politics in the last half decade or so, which, why would you? When the Communist Party of China overthrew around the late 40s, specifically around 1949, the leaders of then Democratic China left to go to Taiwan and basically start their own thing. And since then, they've been operating as a democratic republic in Taiwan. They are recognized as a government, therefore they have all the trappings of a country. So what John Cena said was, in fact, correct. Taiwan is a country. However, the Communist Party of China does not love that, and they would rather have Taiwan be part of the larger whole. I always think of, I know you may or may not have watched Star Trek, but there was this big thing that would show up in space every once in a while called the Borg, and it would assimilate everything around it. That's what I feel is going on here. China's like, you are close enough to us and related to us, therefore you are part of us. You may not be your own country. Where this comes down is in the money. It's all about the money, isn't it? So John Cena, in calling Taiwan a country, offended the entire country of China, or at least its government officials. And you cannot do that if you want to still make millions and maybe billions of dollars with your movie in that country, right? So again, just for some backstory, I will give you some numbers on how much they have made in some of these movies. So the first weekend opening of F9, Fast and the Furious 9, there were around 8 different countries that made around $163 million. $163 million. Sounds like a good amount to make. You know, again, I'm not in that industry specifically, so that sounds like a lot of money to me. The point, though, the kicker here is 80% of that first week's opening came from, you guessed it, China. So around $136 million went to the F9, the Fast and Furious franchise, the very first weekend. Then, apparently in the timeline, John Cena says Taiwan is a country, and we'll hear what he says in a moment because I think it's interesting. But the next weekend, they were down around 80% of their market. So what he said really did make a difference to the Chinese government and the Chinese people, because they cannot admit that Taiwan is a country. And there are bigger things here too. Again, if it seems like this giant country of China has thin skin, it's because they do, because communist countries, authoritarian leaders cannot allow anything to subvert their truth. This is, again, back to the whole battle, the whole definition of truth that we always talk about here, that China has created its own truth that Taiwan is not a country and is a part of China. That's not a reality, but in their mind it is. And if you upset that even a little bit, even if you're just a Hollywood movie star, we are not going to pay for your movies anymore. That's essentially what they said. And so John Cena gave the following apology. So if you are watching, I'm sorry, if you're listening, he basically is saying, I had many interviews. In one of them, I made a mistake. Listen to this part. Everyone asked me if I can use Chinese. People at the Fast and Furious 9 gave me lots of interview information. I made a mistake. I have to say right now, it's so important. I love and respect China and the Chinese people. I'm so sorry for my mistake. Sorry. You have to understand. I love and respect China and the Chinese people. A lot of repetition in this here. I'm sorry. Anyway, you get the idea. My accent was probably bad there. No, I'm just kidding. I was reading. If you didn't see it on video, I do not speak Chinese or Cantonese or Mandarin. Again, I'm not sure exactly which one he was speaking because I don't know any of them. I was reading off the subtitles on the video. So watch the video because then it will make more sense. At any rate, that was a big apology for accidentally calling a country that is in fact a country. If you have to apologize that much for saying a thing that is true, you know you may not be in the right place in the truthiness of this situation. So this is a problem. Again, this is just for calling Taiwan a country, but the bigger issue is the issue of truth. The bigger issue is that, hey, you cannot say untrue things, and it's important for you to acquiesce to the powers that be. My opinion is that you should not go and acquiesce to the powers that be just because they say they're right. Truth is truth. You have to stand up for truth. Sometimes you're going to have to stand up for truth in a place that is difficult to do so, and that is what's called courage. We're going to talk more about courage in a moment, but just to recap, they made about $136 million the first weekend. After that, next weekend, and this whole shenanigans, it dropped about 85%. I don't think that is a coincidence at all. Again, here's where this matters. This matters in the pursuit of truth, and it matters specifically to China because you cannot be a Muslim in China, just ask the Uyghurs. You cannot be a Christian in China, just ask the missionaries that are either in prison or were forced out of the country in this past year. As China gains more power, the surrounding world is more at risk of persecution. Just ask Taiwan, just ask Hong Kong. The same thing happened in Hong Kong. They were cared for by the British, not owned by the British, but the British was watching out for them and governing them for a long time. And then they left. Again, there's a lot of trade things that happened in here, but suffice to say, China went in and basically extinguished all forms of democracy within Hong Kong in the matter of around, a few months. It was very, very fast, and I don't hear very many news stories talking about this at all, but this should be a huge story in the pursuit of truth and freedom. Not that America needs to get involved in all these foreign wars, not that America needs to be the protector of all these bullies, but where there is this kind of injustice in the world, we need to know that it's going on because it does affect freedom and it does affect truth. Hollywood is paid for in a large part by China. If you support these movies, if you support these actors, you are implicitly supporting communist tyranny of China. That sounds like a rather strange and strong statement, but it is in fact true. Here are some more statistics that are going on in China. According to the Christian Post, religious persecution of Christians rose dramatically in China in 2020. I even have friends, missionaries, other people who were forced out of China in this last year and who cannot get back in for fear of their very lives. It is that serious. China Aid reports there are thousands of church closures and other human rights abuses. There were at least 9 church demolitions. They blew up the building that the Christian churches were meeting in, and the Communist Party did this in the last year. There were raids on most, if not all, of the house churches. There were police that questioned the church's main leaders. Many of those leaders and pastors went to jail, at least for a short time. Every church, both official and house church, were mandated to fly the Chinese flag and sing patriotic Chinese songs in the services, many of which songs, again, I'm told because I don't speak the language, were homages to the emperor. Pastors were told to alter their sermons to be more favorable to the Chinese party ideology. That is a problem when you're supposed to be preaching the Bible and instead you have to preach the goodness of the communist dictators that are in your space. That is not what's supposed to happen. Hopefully, I don't have to make that clear to you. Even Christian homes, not house churches, but just Christian homes, have been raided over and over again. If you are a homeschooling parent, the government of China has sued individuals for homeschooling their children and not teaching them the appropriate communist Chinese ideology. Church-run schools have been shut down. Children in Chinese schools are told Christianity is, quote, an evil cult, and they are encouraged to report friends and family members to the authorities. Did you hear that last part? If you are a Christian and your child goes to school and your child says, oh yeah, my dad is a Christian, you, the dad, could go to jail. And in China, many people, I'm not saying only Christians, but I'm saying many people who go somewhere don't come back. That's just what has happened in this country. Just ask again the Uyghur Muslims who have been forcefully sterilized, who many have disappeared, who are not allowed to practice their religion, who are moved into these holding facilities, whatever you want to call them. Not a good place, period. The government also is apparently using advanced surveillance technology because, again, you think of China, they have probably the most advanced technology maybe in the world. And they are using this advanced technology to monitor and track religious people like Christians and Muslims. The U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom identified that China is an egregious violator of human rights. And this is only what we know about. The information as we have it, and as we've seen in other virusy areas, in other news stories like the origin of this China virus, which last year at this time, if you had said it was the China virus or the Wu flu or the Kung flu or any of those things, you would be kicked off all of the socials. This year, apparently now we all know that's where it came from. I'm just saying, China is not entirely honest about the things that they're dealing with and what is going on with Christians, believers, and others. I'm sure there is more going on. We just don't know. I'll end with this in this story. One of my kids talking back to John Cena and his response, because I want to bring this back to individual response. What can you do? Because China is so far away, right? And you may not be planning to be a missionary to China. I don't know. Maybe you are. Fantastic. God bless you if you are. If you're just a regular person, one of my kids who saw John Cena in a couple of movies, and again, I've seen a couple of his movies. Funny, again, not really into the Fast and Furious, but who cares? One of my kids, we were talking about this, and one of my kids said, hey, why didn't Mr. Cena, John, just tell the truth? When he said Taiwan was a country, why didn't he just say, yeah, it was a country. I don't know why you misunderstood me, or I'm not going to say what you tell me to say. I'm just going to say what the truth is. Again, in his apology, which you heard again in the other language, but I translated for you. So sorry. That's a lot of sorries on a fact that is true, that Taiwan is a country. So my son asked, why didn't you just tell the truth? I said, that is a great question. My answer would be, well, if he did, he probably would be out of a job. And that's probably true. If millions to billions of dollars hinge on you saying that Taiwan is not a country or saying whatever the Chinese government tells you to say, you may be well inclined to keep your job, keep making your millions of dollars or however many dollars you're making by saying this thing that doesn't seem to make that much difference because you don't care. You're not going to Taiwan. You're not going to China. Maybe you are, but you just want to be friends and you just want to be like, you want to just supplicate to them and okay, fine, I'll just say whatever you want me to say. That's the problem though. You see, courage means making difficult decisions and acting with integrity even if everyone else is doing the wrong thing. That's the hard part of courage. It's not doing what everybody else is doing. Courage is when everybody else is doing a thing that you know is not the right thing, you doing the right thing, you being the one to stand up and do the right thing. That is courage, and that is really hard, especially in this day and age, and I have a feeling it's going to get more difficult in this day and age as well. You personally are going to have more courage. If you believe in Jesus, if you are a follower of Jesus, and if you believe in the truth, you are going to more and more have courage to stand up and be the one that goes against culture and says the thing that is the true thing. People are going to laugh at you. People are going to make fun of you. People may kick you out of their friend circles, families, jobs. You may lose all of those things if you choose to stand over the truth. In fact, Jesus tells you right away that the world is not going to like you. The world may even hate you. Paul says that you should be glad if they persecute you for Jesus, because that means that you're following him. This more and more in this culture, in China especially, you may disappear if you stand up for Jesus. In this country, that's not quite yet the truth, and I am glad for that. I'm glad for the freedoms that we have. We just talked about that in Memorial Day. But this may be coming, and more persecution may be on the horizon. Now is the chance that you have to practice courage. You get to practice standing up for the truth, standing up for those that cannot stand for themselves, saying the true things, standing up for Jesus, and living in a true reality, just as Jesus said to Pilate. I am the truth. And Pilate responds, well, what is truth? That is what the culture is going to respond to you. They don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to be part of the truth. And more, you are going to have the courage to stand up. Courage means take heart. And when Jesus says, take heart, I have overcome the world, you can have courage because Jesus is with you. He will not forsake you. Even if this world comes down on you and comes down hard on you, you can still know that standing up for truth, having integrity, having courage for Jesus is more valuable than keeping your job or making money or making the powers that be happy. None of those things will satisfy you. None of them have eternal value. But the integrity, following Jesus, standing up for the truth, standing up for Jesus have eternal value. And I hope that you are able to do that more and more as we see the day approaching. God bless you and yours, and I hope that you keep the faith. Thank you again for choosing Church Public. As always, I really appreciate it. Go ahead and check out churchpublic.com if you have not already. If you do feel like supporting, I certainly appreciate it. It helps me do what I do so that you can do what God has for you to do. Go to churchpublic.com/support for more. Again, thank you so much and keep the faith.